You are now listening to Out of the Blank.
Welcome to another episode of Out of the Blank podcast. I'm here with Ron Croker, my old boss for the Jetivator who works at Action Watersports.
How you doing, Robbie?
So, what do you want to tell me about Action Watersports? How would you sum it up for the people out there?
Action and Odyssey Watersports down in Ocean City are water sports companies. Just a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of family input. Been around for 22 years. We've been in Ocean City a long time. We've grown the business to where it's a really great experience for families that want to come down and experience new stuff and the joy of being out on the water if you're on vacation. A lot of people don't. They might be from a state that doesn't have any water where they can just get out and just enjoy themselves. So we try to offer a really good experience for the folks that come down. So.
And you're here with your security guard, arms crossed, sitting in the back, Justin Clemens, who actually runs Odyssey Watersports. Why don't you introduce yourself to the audience there?
Justin Clemens, Ron's son-in-law, and been here a couple years.
Mm-hmm.
Around 6 foot, brown eyes.
Yeah, 6 foot. I'd get 6'4", about 195.
Baby smooth skin.
Yeah, that's right.
So, do you eventually plan on taking over the business in a way? Kind of, Ron's going to pass down the ceremonial Odyssey jet ski.
Hey, we are starting to do that now as he runs Odyssey completely. So.
I mean, my wife does too, Melissa. So
Yeah.
it's really the three of us. I mean,
Yeah.
if one of us isn't here, it would be hard to do everything that we're doing right now. So
Yeah. And that's the family aspect. Yeah. You know, that's our family. That's what we have. So.
That brings up a good question. Is it hard working with family? Because I swear, sometimes it's hard for me even living with them.
Hard living with them.
I think it depends on the family. For us, it seems to work really well.
It really does, because we bounce things off each
Yeah.
other all the time, and everybody's opinion is valuable. I mean, we might not always agree on something, but the opinion's there. We talk about it. If it warrants further, we do it. You know, but it's a lot of talking.
Anything personal. I think that's the key with.
Plus, you can abuse the hell out of them if you want.
Yeah.
You feel no tension from
No, we wouldn't do that.
No.
You're having a rough day. We go to the ceremonial Corona down at the gas
There you
station.
go. Yeah, that's my favorite time of the day. No, but we do, man. We bounce things off, and I think that's what makes us different than like the other water sports guys in town. You know, they don't do that. You know, they just it's a very almost like a processed experience that you feel, and that's not what we are. We never were. You know, so.
Well, where there is the business aspect of it, you got to focus on profits and stuff like that too. Mm-hmm. Because, like, just take us in through basically the day of being a jet ski owner of a business.
Well, it's very orchestrated. It has to be. If it's not done a certain way, it gets discombobulated and things. It can go off the track pretty quickly. You can get it back on, but for example, with Odyssey and with Action, we have to get all of these skis ready in the morning. We're talking about 30 jet skis here. And in Odyssey's case, they have to all be taken off the beach on a beach cart, right? Put in the water and get ready, ready for the customers. At Action, they have to be started. So there's a whole procedure. Life jackets have to be brought out. Paperwork has to be done. All the things that would normally happen. And at the during the day, of course, you've been there, you've seen it. People are coming and going, and it can get pretty hairy if something goes off the track out there. Because you used to be a guide, you know how quickly things can be crazy.
I got hit by a jet ski.
Exactly. Oh, well, God forbid that happens again.
Well, why he's not a guide anymore?
Justin, first of all, doesn't know me as being the guy. He always cracks that little joke. He goes, "You plan on guiding today?" I'm like, "No, I got out of that."
Yeah.
I did it for the first couple of years, and then when I went over to Action Watersports, Ron actually pulled me off of finding that when I was looking for a job being a guide and put me on this thing called the Jetivator.
Yep.
And Ron, if you want to explain the Jetivator to everybody.
Absolutely. The Jetivator was one of the airborne water-propelled rides that you could do in Ocean City. So in other words, it's kind of like a the jet lev or the hoverboard where it's connected to a support watercraft, which is what Robbie did. He was a Jetivator instructor. So you would fire up that jet ski. Instead of the jet coming out of the back, it would shoot it up a hose, which was connected to the machine, and you would fly in the air.
The biggest pain in the ass to set it up.
Biggest pain in the ass. And how high, though, would you think? 20 feet? 15 feet?
About 20
Something?
feet.
Yeah.
It was hard because the hose would keep messing up, and then we'd have to keep cutting it. So next thing you know, it's like 2 feet long. They're right in front of you.
You're up back 6 inches off the water. But the thing about it was not something that everybody could do.
It was not.
It took a lot of training to get you to the point where you felt comfortable putting somebody 20 feet in the air on this machine that's shooting water everywhere.
I did get everyone to fly. Only people that I did not get to fly were the people that gave up.
Sure, and you were good at it. You were really good at it. And people they look at you like, hey, I trust you. I'm trusting you here, and I'm scared to death that this thing's going to fall over.
If I'm hopping in the water to freeze my ass off, you can trust me 100%.
Yeah. But that was the Jetovator, and the nice thing about the Jetovator is there was nothing else like that in Ocean City. I mean, you couldn't really just, go in Ocean City and fly in the air on this water-propelled thing. So it was new, it was exciting, and people loved it, So.
I mean, it was definitely fun for me. There were times I'm not gonna lie, I did not enjoy it when it was raining or something like that, and someone's like, "I want to go fly." I'm like, "You understand? It's gonna be like bullets hitting your skin when you're up there."
Yeah.
But I mean, it was
like being a guide, though, right? You would have to guide in the rain down at,
That's still uncomfortable. I mean, but mostly the fact, like, you get your wetsuit on or something. Like, I always wore the wetsuit. Or you guys know me from my infamous life jacket tan, where I had my little life jacket. I used to crack the joke when I'm walking down the dock. Robbie's got his life jacket on. That's his signature jacket. But I had the worst tan. Looked like I was wearing a tank top all day, basically. But
that's right.
When you're flying these people, and I think the most awesome thing about the job was when they finally got it.
Yeah.
And then they looked at you, and then it was the same thing I can chalk up to teachers who teach their kids, and then after a year at the ending, when they finally get all the information, they leave.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, now I got to teach a whole new group. Once you're flying these people for their time, and next thing you know, they're gone. Once they get it, like right when they get it, basically, it's
they're gone.
Oh, it's like time's up. It's like, oh man.
But that little 15, 20, 30, 60 seconds of, I got it, I'm flying this thing. I mean, you couldn't pry the smiles off their faces. They were hooked.
Well, see, the thing was, it was actually pretty exhausting to even fly that thing in general. Yeah. A lot of people didn't understand. They're like, oh, it's only a half-hour ride or something like that. I'm like, you're not going to want to be up there a full half hour flying around. I mean, me and Brandon, we did hour break type things. Mostly Brandon flies 10 minutes and just sits in the water, and I'm trying to get him back up there. I'll never forget the one time we flew it with him sitting on the front of it.
Oh, Lord.
And we were flying it around. He's flying it behind him, basically sitting on the
butt crack hanging out.
And I remember when I rode the hoverboard, and we were it was a bunch of college kids, and they were all trying to go up there and do the little flips on the little hoverboard, and I got on it, and my foot wasn't strapped all the way in it. This was like the second time I've ever flown it, but I got it on my first try and everything. Yeah. And I go and lift my foot up, and I lift it up too high, but Brandon happened to hold the throttle down when he did that. Shot straight up in the air. I mean, however the hose was when it was brand new, and I was holding on to the front of it, just screaming, and he's not even paying attention. He's laughing, and then next thing you know, I fall, and the board hits me and slams you right into the bay. And you got to think, the bay is only waist deep.
Yeah,
a lot of people don't understand that. There's only certain areas where it's not. And where people look at it and see the fun aspect of it, there's safety precautions you have to take.
You got to do it.
When I'm on that jet ski and I was looking at them the whole time, I kept my eyes on them. Yeah. And like Brandon had to drive in front of me, like around to the side or something, so I could see him say, "Hey, let me know about their time, or let me know like it's time to switch." Yeah. Because I was so focused, the time would fly like that.
Sure.
Next thing you know, we just leave the jet ski out there, and you'd be like, we're going to keep shuttling people out to you. And I was like, yeah, that was probably...
Leave it set up, you mean? You don't have to fool around with the hose and all the other crap that goes along with it.
Oh, for sure. Because, I mean, that's a process in itself, jumping in the water and then having to set that up while the people are waiting on the boat, getting instructed and everything. You want to be up and ready to go. And when you're... First of all, on the water and you're focusing, you got to look at all the distractions that are out there too. Yeah. And I remember the one time I was going 40 miles an hour. I'd take that ultra, obviously. Sean let me go out for a spin. I'd go all the way across the bay as fast as it would go. And then I was slowing down. I think it hit around 40, and it was like I'm getting to the no wake zone, so I'm like let go of the throttle and just letting it slow me down.
Yeah.
Seagull. I see it right in front of me. It's not flying up. I figured it's going to move. It flies up and hits me right in the chest. Next thing you know, I told you guys when I got back to that, I just got hit by a seagull.
We probably didn't believe him.
That was that drone seagull.
Oh, it was a drone.
Oh, God.
A drone dressed like a seagull.
It's a broken drone now. Because I turned around, I was like, that thing's not moving.
You know, it reminds me of that commercial where the guy's driving the motorcycle and the duck slams into him. He's happy as hell just to be on the
that insurance
motorcycle.
commercial.
Yeah.
Did it hurt you when you got hit?
Honestly, it just like knocked my shoulder back. It wasn't even like something like I didn't even really recognize. I just turned around and was like, I was more worried about the seagull. That thing was gone. He was.
I'm sure he blew away. He was like, that was an experience.
In the great whatever bird cage in the sky.
Well, the other thing was people would love to stop and watch that Jetavator or the hoverboard, whatever it was. They'd love to watch it go up in the air. So
that was our prime
they'd
thing.
sit around and they'd
fly it. You wanted us to fly it in the ocean, which was. That was just a dream in general because even trying to go out there was a little bit like too choppy. You know, you have to have the certain conditions. The Ultra starts filling with water. We had to have that
all the time.
That was the biggest problem.
Because the nose would go under the water and the waves would crash over.
Yeah, we had to put in a built-in bilge pump to pump out all the water.
Hit the switch and yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen anybody take that much time into caring for a jet ski when it came to Sean. He was constantly working on that thing, constantly calling the Snap-on guy.
Yep.
And that thing just came out about the Snap-on guy recently, too.
Oh, I didn't hear that. What was...
It was a prostitution type thing.
With the Snap-on guy?
The one Snap-on guy we have.
Lord.
Yeah, and I was like, don't take him out. Sean would be so upset. He's the only guy that drives that truck and gets the tools there. I saw the Snap-on guy at Sean's house the other day. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, he loves that Snap-on stuff. And he's a mechanic. That's like a premium tool, so he's
That's what always fascinated me when you guys looked at jet skis and stuff. It was like, you guys are being able to troubleshoot. It's like much like a car mechanic. Like I see a jet ski opening up and you're like, next thing you know, I'm burning my hand. Sean's like, yeah, you don't touch that. I'm like, I'm slowly learning.
That's right.
Next thing you know, I know how to fuel the jet ski.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, you know what? And learning that stuff, it's really cool. I mean, it's nice to know that. Not that you're going to get in there and take the head off the jet ski or do something internal to the motor, but it's going to be nice.
Well, it's like learning a little bit about your car. Like you got to know when the oil and everything in your car is running low, and once you know how to fix that, next time it pops up, you can troubleshoot it again.
Exactly. And it's not like you're pulling taffy at that Candy Kitchen. You're interacting with these people. When I was talking earlier about the trust thing, they trust you, and there's a bond that happens. So it's a really intense thing for a short period of time, and the fact that they do trust you, they relax a little bit,
exactly,
and then they can do the activity. So.
Well, the way like a guide has a proper speech before they, address the people. You have to inform people on what they're getting on and what they got to know. It's like driving a car. It's dangerous. Like you make it dangerous basically. If you neglect some certain things, don't pay attention, you're going to have, a bad time.
So true. And that's what you don't. I mean, you want to make sure you give these people as much information as you can so that they can have a good time. I mean, nobody wants to go out there if they're on vacation for a week and break their leg. All of a sudden their vacation's shot in the butt. And they're not. What are they going to do? So it is really important. And the other thing about the the Jetavator and the hoverboard and all that stuff that you did, was that you did have return customers. I'm pretty sure, because I remember seeing face after face, and they would come back.
The funny thing was, out of all the people we've had, and we did have a lot, for as much as Justin wants to joke around saying it wasn't that popular, but we did have a good amount of people. I remembered everybody. Any person that came back was like, what's up, man? Like, what's up?
Exactly.
But I was known as the Jetavator guy. Like, people were posting up stuff on Facebook saying this guy and, like, thanking me a lot. I'm like, because you don't understand how really intimate it is when you're one-on-one teaching somebody.
Yeah. That's a good point. I mean,
it's just like teaching in general. Like when a teacher, you remember that teacher, you remember you remember your third grade teacher?
Yeah, everybody does, because that's where, especially if they were good. You can remember when they're bad. Yeah. But when they're really good, they have a lasting impression on you.
That's weird, though, because you don't want to be the bland company that doesn't get remembered. You want to either be something super good or, in the unfortunate incident, you do something bad or something, you get a bad review. And then, but at least you remembered us.
Well, look, going back to Odyssey in action, you know better than anybody. There's a lot of jet ski rentals in Ocean City. And if we don't all take it serious, It can be a dangerous thing to do, and that's why. I mean, we haven't, in the number of years we've been here working with the DNR like you did and all that. It's a really great program. Like if you believe in them and they believe in you, and you follow the protocol they put in place, and they, listen to the protocol that you have in place, it really is a wonderful thing. I mean, people have a great time. The accidents are way down. People don't get hurt. So, if you take it serious and you talk about your industry with them, it works. And it has for the last number of years.
So if I had to ask you, what's your worst thing that you think about when you're basically owning a business? Like what's a bad day for you? Take me through that.
Well, a bad day for me would be because of this equipment being expensive, and because we always pride ourselves on like the family experience. Like that, my wife, when she and I started this thing 22 years ago, that after the very first week, she said, you know what? I mean, she said, I could see the potential for this thing to go bad quick. So we need to make sure that we concentrate on safety, because I want to bring my grandkids here. And if I want to bring my grandkids here, I know it's safe for you to bring your grandkids here. As she's talking to people. So
I don't think I have kids yet, so.
Well, yeah, but if you do, bring them to Odyssey. You probably won't let them jetivate, but you can bring them to Odyssey.
Oh, they're not jet.
So a bad day would be that, there's an accident, let's say. Well, the first priority would be, is the person okay? And generally speaking, with that protocol that we have in place, somebody may get banged up a little bit, but they're not going to be, with a broken pelvis heading to Johns Hopkins or any of those weird things that, that could potentially happen. So a bad day would be, somebody getting hurt, a jet ski getting, some damage on it.
Fiberglass is expensive.
Fiberglass is expensive. But more so, you worry about the person, because you know that, once again, if they're down here for a week and they wind up, getting banged up, they're not going to enjoy their vacation. So it affects their family. So that's what we always try to prevent, is somebody, and they getting hurt. So they do that by following the rules, period. So another bad day would be rain. When it's raining, you're pretty much sure that all of your customers are going to the movies, or they're going to the indoor mini golfs. They're not coming out to do water sports.
Is that live? Let's go jet skiing.
Exactly.
It's like, okay, that makes sense. I think a worst day for me is when I see 15 people that don't speak English walk up to the booth, and then suddenly they hop on all the jet skis and they don't understand a word you're saying.
Yeah, that can be a really bad day. And I think that, what we interpret that as being a bad day is because you don't know if they get the information you're trying to give them. I mean, you could say...
They look disconnected when I...
Yeah, and how do you know they're listening? You don't, right? Because they look disconnected.
And then half the time they're talking to their other family members, and you're sitting there like, okay, well, they're not even listening to what I'm saying. I'm sitting there telling them that if you do this or do that, you're going to die. Mm-hmm. And they're sitting there just joking around and ready to get out there and just tear it up.
Mm-hmm. Now, another really cool thing is, I think that, you can service everybody in that industry if you step back and you look at what, like you're talking about the people that don't speak English. It would be really great to pull somebody out of the crowd that knows both languages and let them translate for you. Another good example is like Melissa, my daughter Justin's wife, knows sign language. So if somebody deaf would come up and want to rent a jet ski, she would sign the rules to them, so they understood. And they would go out and ride the jet ski for their hour, and it was perfectly okay. It's amazing what you can do if you just think about it a little bit. Now, there are some limits. Like, if you have a group of 15 people that can't speak English, you've got to make sure you get to every one of them, with a translator, with something. So
you'd always hop down on the dock and look at them and be like, do you understand? And then you self-teach them and, like, show them with your hands.
Exactly.
And stuff,
if somebody's having a little issue. I don't know if you remember the one kid that came to action, but he had, I'm trying to think of what he had, where he had a driver's license, and he could drive. I think he was mildly autistic, if that's a word. I don't know if you can be mildly autistic.
I drove him out there. I remember because she tipped me like $30. I told
her
to keep it, but I was like, no, don't do that. And she was like, no, you deserve it for what you did. He rode on the back of my jet ski out there.
Yeah.
And then we let him out on a jet ski, and we just had Brandon watch him.
On the other side of the Route 90 bridge,
where he was away from everybody, and he would be like, that's a terrible way of putting it. Like when people explain what would happen if you got like a autistic kid, and they would just open up the door in the countryside and let them be free and roam.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that's terrible, but that's what we did. But it was a safety precaution. We needed
Right.
we didn't know what would happen if we let him near other riders.
Sure.
Because all the other riders, they're very dumb when it comes to some things. Just because
they
not
get tunnel vision.
Yeah, well, it's just like driving in a car where people say, why do you get so angry when you drive? You're alert when you're driving a machine. But when you're driving these jet skis, you think you're not paying attention to the things that are coming from under the bridge. All the boats have the right of way.
Yeah.
So they don't care if you're in the way, you're going to move. And a lot of people don't realize that, and they'll either stop in front of a boat or do something. You got to get in front of the boat and let them know, hey, they're renters, they don't know any better.
Sure. Well, how happy was this kid when you took him out there when he came back? He was like, and he came back year after year after year, and the dad was so appreciative that we took that extra time.
I actually did that 2 years in a row. I did that.
Yeah. Now, like in Justin's case down at Odyssey, we've had wounded warriors there, right?
Oh yeah.
And you go the extra mile to get them on the ski and to do all that.
Carry them on. We've had deaf people, but
Did your legs get tired, Justin? You were standing there with your arms crossed.
yeah, I was a little bit tired.
I was feeling open.
To be honest with you, I think whether the deaf people, some kind of handicap, or the wounded warriors, there's most of the time, some of the best operators out there because they do.
Especially when Stevie Wonder comes to ride it.
Focus a little bit more. I don't know about that. I just think they focus more.
I can feel the water. I know where to go.
They use their other senses.
Yeah.
The deaf ones, to be honest with you, I think are some of the best operators we've had.
Oh, because they're way more alert. They
Yeah,
know what's
the
going
visual.
on.
What I'm saying. Yeah, like
They might not be able to hear, but their vision's probably like.
but you don't have
the
to
best.
talk to them because
Yeah. They look at that hand signal, slow down. They know, speed up, whatever.
Yeah, they know sign language already.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they know what this means. Cut off your engine or something. They're like, okay, well.
Mm-hmm. But it's funny. We were just talking about like if you get a group of 15 people that
This is
show
what
up.
I wanted to talk to you about. Ron gave me the grandpa responsible business owner answer. I want the real answer from someone around my age who understands. Well, not my age. You're a little bit older, but
yeah, a little bit
younger.
probably a year or two.
You're young. You're young in.
That's right. That's right.
I don't know how to phrase that properly, but
I feel like this is about to be a loaded question.
okay.
Go ahead.
I
fire
picture a
away.
scenario: 20 foreigners.
Yeah.
You know what race I'm probably thinking of.
Okay.
Come up to rent jet skis. They don't speak English.
Yeah.
Go.
Everyone's allowed to operate it.
You're giving me the freaking business answer too.
I mean,
It's politically
Look.
correct. We're all PC here.
I
I
can
mean,
read your guys' thoughts
I
right
know,
now.
isn't that
I'm telling
amazing?
you.
but if they fill out the paperwork and they get the test right,
Once you get the money, it's all good. But I mean,
nah, it ain't the
Well,
money.
it's in this particular case, if they don't get the test right, you speak about the money, they don't go. You can't let somebody.
But it doesn't
out
matter
there.
who it is.
Mhm.
No matter who it is, if they can't pass an open book test,
Justin,
you can't operate.
I
the
know
jet ski.
for a fact I was standing next to you when you were grading one of their tests one time, and you literally said this guy didn't get a single question right.
Right.
There you go. Did I make him retake it?
He went out there. I know that.
He probably.
Well, then he
retook it,
probably
wouldn't
retook the
he?
test.
Yeah, you got to, man.
Yeah.
You know why? Because it's stapled to their paperwork. But DNR, you go out there and have an
Yeah.
accident. DNR comes in and says,
They're gonna
"Where's
look
the
for the
paperwork?" You got to produce it.
Yeah.
You feel bad for
I
somebody.
get anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I see him in the store now.
Yeah. Well, yes. But you want them to have a really good time, but you want them to have a safe time. There's nothing else you can say.
It's just, well, the funny thing was when I got hit by a jet ski, I don't know if you guys know the story behind it. I was heading down to one of the Assateague riding area. at
Back
the old
behind
Watersports.
Assateague?
Yeah, at the old Watersports I used to work at. And the dude wasn't paying attention. He was in probably like a foot of water going like 40 miles an hour trying to look at the ponies. He was a foreign guy. I stopped everyone behind me, and I was way ahead of him, probably a football field ahead of him. And I had my hands up saying, like screaming, "Stop your jet ski, stop your jet ski." But 40 miles an hour, he came fast. Next thing you know, when a jet ski's not moving in the water, it's flat.
Yeah.
And his jet ski went up mine like a ramp and hit me in the chest.
No shite.
Handlebars broke off into my hips. I cartwheeled and broke fiberglass in my head. So Justin, you're right when you're saying I'm hard-headed. Because I only had a little bit of scratch on like the side of my temple, but my hand, there was a scar here that went down from like my pinky finger down, and that was from the brake breaking in, or the gas breaking into my hand, like the lever. Because we're on this little
what? So he just slammed into you at full throttle.
Well, I mean, I guess, yeah, for the renter, yeah, it would be full throttle because there are 2 separate keys and everything.
Yeah.
Just because we need to be a little bit faster to be.
Jeez.
Were there 2 guides on the ride? Somebody was there to help you?
Yeah, but he was way behind.
Oh.
Like, he was getting another group of, like, 3 stragglers that were going off looking at the pirate ship. Because when you're going down to Assateague, there's the pirate ship and everything down there. So, once I got hit, I flipped into the water. Next thing I know, I'm laying stomach on the jet ski. My jet ski's done. It's not moving. And I didn't even know I was really hurt. Like my back, like my body, like my mind knew my back was hurt before, like, you know what I mean? Like my body just physically did it.
Sure, it was like you look down and something's missing. You don't realize until you look down because you got so much adrenaline flowing in your body.
And it was funny. The only ironic part about that situation was the guy that hit me worked at the CVS my dad picked up my pain medication.
Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh.
What? It's crazy.
It's crazy to think, just all the stuff, like if you're renting jet skis or if you're renting pontoons, Justin, you probably have a little bit more information on this, but people don't understand how short our bay is. They really don't. I remember I saved Randy Orton's life because he wanted to dive off the pontoon boat right next to Hooper's Crab House into the water. I'm like, you're going to break your
neck. Yeah, that happens all the time. All the time.
Shallow. We tell everybody on the boats, don't.
That's how people break their foots all the time.
Yeah.
Everyone's like
just from
jumps in
feet
next
first.
to knees to chest. Like,
Yeah.
oh God.
Yeah.
Much better to do that than your neck, though. I would imagine. These guys. They don't. You know what? Alcohol probably plays a big part in that. When you're out there, or it's just sheer excitement of being out in the water.
That was the best part about the Jetivator ski being over by Chad's place because they had so many drunk bachelorette parties. Oh my God. The girls would always be like, "You're so cute." I'm like, "Yeah, I got the shirt off." Actually, I keep the life jacket on because the tan was so bad. So it was like...
But you know what? It's not everyone. And overall, it's a really safe thing to do these days. All of the time that was spent, here's the grandpa answer again, all of the time that was spent perfecting this thing paid off. You know what I mean? Little problems, you work on them, that's all.
Yeah, I mean, it's much like anything. If you work, put all your effort into it and work into your craft, it's going to be better. And
exactly.
It's grown into a wonderful business that does care. And I remember the best times, Ron, I can think is when I had a really long, hard day. I come back to the dock, you give me a little bit of shit for something.
That was easy.
You always gonna wear that wetsuit, Robbie?
Seriously.
It's like, yeah. When are you gonna shave your hair? Come on, man.
You're always just gonna sit there, Robbie?
Yeah, that. Yeah, if we get a ride.
You're like, come on, man, let's go wax the ski.
Oh my God. Wax that ski, but. Like it was, and the worst part is filling up those gas cans, taking it down to the gas station before we got
still
the
do that.
Cart. And then Sean's like, "I'm gonna buy you a little cart." I'm like, "All right, shut up, Sean." Like he's making fun of me because I'm carrying these gas cans back and forth. Next thing I know, he had bought me a little cart.
Yep. Yeah, man. See, he's a man of his word. Now it's interesting. We have you're talking about Sean, but we have a new venture called the Liquid Limo. And the Liquid Limo, I think there's a brochure around here somewhere, but the Liquid Limo is a 24-passenger jet boat. It doesn't do spins like the Screamer did, but it does bachelor parties, things like that, birthday parties, and they all fit in the same boat. And so it's going to be running full-time.
It's like a drunk taxi in a way.
Well, we try not to, but people can bring what they want on the boat.
I just turned 21.
Oh my God!
When are we going to split a Corona, Ron?
Yeah, let's do it right now.
Right in the morning.
Mm-hmm. That would be crazy.
It's crazy to think, just on the whole business aspect of just like watching your business grow. It's got to be. It's just an amazing feeling.
It is an amazing feeling because there's a lot of hurdles you got to overcome.
Where did you even get the idea to start a water sports company?
We were talking about this the other day. I had worked I was a systems maintenance engineer for PBS in Washington, D.C.
the network show?
Yeah, PBS, Public Broadcasting System.
What, did you run like the back scenes to Mr. Rogers or
We
something?
took care of the cameras. We were the maintenance guys that repaired everything and ran
Meet
the
anybody
line.
famous?
Yeah, met quite a few famous people.
Who's
Frank
in the White
Zappa
House?
for one.
Give me some examples.
Frank Zappa, Vincent
man.
Price. I met Chick Corea. You ever heard of Chick Corea, the jazz guy? I met all the famous conductors, President Reagan, President Bush.
You met Reagan?
Yeah.
Oh, I got into a huge thing. It actually sponsored my last podcast. It's called Fill in the Blank. They won their Inform People.
Yeah.
And it was about Bob Lazar in Area 51. And you know, Reagan actually was the one that hinted towards aliens.
Really?
When he was talking to Senator Gorbachev of Russia.
Yeah, that was not senator, but he was like the leader of Russia. He was the prime minister or the premier
They were
minister.
talking about, he said, if we ever got attacked by other beings from another world, would you protect us? And then he answered yes, because we would do the same for you. And like, he said it in a speech. There's a speech on YouTube, you can look it up, of him saying, like, it's stupid to think that we're not, like, we're the only ones in this universe. And it's like,
funny.
that's made him probably my favorite president.
Yeah.
But, so besides Reagan, who else?
Aaron Neville, Kitty Carlisle. I met the Marshall Tucker Band. Those guys. A lot of the. I'm trying to think. There's been a lot. And one guy that was in the 13 Angry Men. I've forgotten his name, but just people like that. You know, people that were interested in doing shows, Broadway shows. But we did that. We did In Performance at the White House, you know, which was a PBS show. We did Capitol Fourth down on the lawn of the Capitol, Washington Week in Review, the McNeil Lehrer News Hour, Sesame Street, you know, stuff like that.
Elmo?
Elmo and all that.
So I have to ask Justin a quick question. What are you doing with your life?
What am I doing?
Ron's done all this PBS stuff and all this backward. He's been to the White House. He's met presidents. What are you doing
where's
besides?
he at now?
He's here at the,
He's running a successful business.
Well, that's my point. That's where we all are.
You're following in his steps too.
Well, when we, then back in the day, when we were sitting around one day, because that was a really stressful job. I mean, studios don't have windows. When you work in a studio.
Yeah, there's a reason why you don't have hair on the top.
Oh, man, you would be like.
Justin, there's a reason why you wear a hat too.
Yeah, there is. Because employees like you.
Well, we sat around the kitchen table once and we decided, let's do something as a family. And that's when we came up with the water sports business. And when we looked at restaurants, we looked at bagel shops, we looked at all these other businesses.
You owned a bagel shop.
I know. But, it would have
Ron's
been.
Bagels?
I'm sure.
Probably would have done pretty well.
What would you call it if you owned
Ron's
bagels?
Bagels.
Yeah. Odyssey Bagels.
No. But what's really interesting? We knew back then we had to do something as a family. Because those career jobs were just sucking all the life out of everything.
It's hard to work for corporate or anything like that, where someone's or an industry where something's really over your head. But it's when you're working for a small business or something that's like family owned, or it's definitely a better vibe. I mean, working with family where it has its like little cringes and stuff like that. It's a beautiful thing because you're really all close together, and you're family when it comes down to it. And you got to treat the workers just like your family too. The thing is, when it's a small business, if it's not too like exported and incorporated and everything, it becomes more of getting personal relationships with these people. I mean, we develop personal relationships, so that's what brings up my question: what's the worst thing about me that you did not like?
Lazy.
No.
Lazy. There wasn't shit for me to do.
No, I don't think I could. There's nothing about you I didn't like. I think you did a good job. I think you did. You took your job serious, and that goes right back to what we were talking about. Because the generator's dangerous.
Except the one time I accidentally hurt Dylan, where he was sitting on the hoverboard, and
yeah, but you know what? I think that was.
That was his fault, though.
Yeah, it was partially Dylan's fault. But there's when you're doing a high stress thing like that, that I think you did a great job. It's a tough thing to do because, how old were you then?
14.
Probably 19, 18.
Maybe 18, That's a lot of stress to put on an 18-year-old. It's just like guiding,
I was with you guys for 2 years.
Yeah.
It was fun. I think the best parts was like, you know, when I'd get back from a long trip, I think I was hinting at this before, but you'd order belly busters and we'd be sitting there eating a nice sub.
Everybody likes belly busters.
But you'd butter me up like, oh, Rob, and I'd just get back and be on the water for like 7 hours.
Here's a
and
nice
eating
big
the
sub.
And you'd come up to the end, there you go, and then you're like, all right, eat quick. I'm like, oh, God.
Oh, man.
The worst thing about that job for me was taking off that wetsuit when I got home. Because it's like, you didn't want to shower afterwards.
It becomes part of your skin, doesn't it?
Yeah. So then you're trying to get it, and you get it pulled down to your feet, and then it just gets stuck on the ankles, and you're just like, oh, yes, screw this. And you just, like you know, pass out on the floor after a long day, and my car was salt water all in there. It was like,
well, you know, and you can talk to this, Justin. Justin's trying this new jet ski, and is maybe 2 years old, but new to us, and it's called a Sea-Doo Tricks. I don't know if you ever saw or heard what this thing does.
You guys always told me sea don'ts or sea birds.
We did for a while. Tell them what the Tricks does.
Well, there's some pictures right there. At least Robbie can see it.
I just see a picture of the guy with the shirt off, which I'm wondering why you have in your secret bunker here.
So you can stand it up.
Oh, that's awesome. So it's like a
much-
stand-up ski a little bit, but
A little bit, yeah.
that's actually. I hope you're not renting that to anybody.
We are.
Are you nuts, man?
That's all it does. When it stands up, it goes real slow.
Can't,
That gives me anxiety because that's what it looked like when the dude hit me.
well,
Oh,
a little.
Up in the air.
Yeah, imagine being in front of that.
No.
Except the
Well,
nose
that's
wasn't that high.
kind of what we train our employees not to do is get in front of jet skis. So,
Dude, I'll never forget. Remember
if you
when
were
we had
trained properly, you probably wouldn't have been hit.
See, talking shit now. No,
just
you,
gotta
you
keep
remember
it real.
Kevin? Remember Kevin, the Irish Kevin?
Oh, yeah.
He still works there.
I remember the funniest thing about. Yeah, he works at another restaurant too. I ran
Dry
into somebody.
55.
Dry 85.
We're dry 85.
I ran into somebody that. That's Justin's age. No. But I remember the one time he called on the radio, and it was like the one time I was standing by you guys at Odyssey, which I did a lot, but the one time at this moment, you guys were eating pizza, which was like that was my jealous thing. I always come over, you guys were eating pizza.
Oh yeah.
Figures, orders of pizza.
Pinos or something, wasn't it?
What was your comeback to it?
2 guys.
What was your comeback to that thing? I'd walk up and be like, "Can I get a slice?" And be like, "Yeah, if you work hard, you get pizza too."
Right. If you're not just sitting around.
But what Kevin did was he called on the radio. All you heard was he's an Irish guy, so all you hear is, and no one believes me when I say the story. All you hear on the radio is someone hits him, and he goes, "I think I broke my fucking foot." I swear to God,
It was Joe.
Joe.
Oh, that was Joe.
Yeah.
He jumped off. He didn't get hit. He jumped off to flip a ski, and he jumped onto the ski.
And it
Because I
turned his
remember I
ankle.
grabbed the radio immediately and said, "I think I broke my fucking foot." And I copied him. Oh my God, it was the funniest thing in the world. That accent was just.
Yeah, I do get a kick out of his accent too. But Kevin's the same way with his accent.
Oh yeah.
You know.
It's not as bad.
But Joe gets a little, you know, when they curse or they say a word that, you know, we probably shouldn't say here, but you know, they say it a little bit different, and it's funny to me anyway.
Yeah.
Well, that's another cool part about not just owning a jet ski business, but working for one as well. You get a sense of the culture and environment. It's much like the beautiful things about public schools.
Yeah.
You're getting a whole taste of different culture and a whole different thing of people. Like if you go to a private school, you're not going to get that sometimes. You're not going to get all the races. You're going to get certain
because you're
demographics.
paying so much to go there. It limits a lot of people that can go there. Some people that have money.
Yeah.
Like Worcester Prep, I think there's something like $18,000 a year to go there or something like that. So that's a great school, though.
I mean, my one buddy who's biracial, he was explaining he was probably like there was only 4% black people and like everybody else was all white. And
For
like,
Worcester Prep?
no, I don't think it was Worcester Prep. I think it was another private school. But he was like there weren't that.
Oh
many
yeah,
black
yeah.
kids.
And I know that for a fact that, you know, like, and we've talked about this many times because they research where, you know, what are the best schools in the area, and Worcester Prep is like a really good school. So it's not only a private school, but it's really worth the money.
I don't like the uniforms.
They have uniforms.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a
Yeah.
shirt and tie is what it is, I think. It's
No, but
khakis.
you gotta wear a
Sure.
skirt and everything too.
Oh, for the
If you're a
girls.
girl. Well, Justin probably wore a
What, you
skirt.
gonna wear a skirt?
Don't they have to wear like a certain dress skirt or something and a dress shirt?
The
I
females?
think it's a khaki.
Yeah. Well,
Khaki skirt,
you
khaki
didn't fall in
pants.
that
For
You,
sure.
category.
you wouldn't have to. Well,
wouldn't have
that's
to lose.
debatable, but I think it's a white shirt for most males.
We can turn the secret bunker into a secret
A bunker. This is a secret bunker. Isn't it cool? This is where Justin does his Facebook Lives and all that stuff.
See, it's really cool. It's like you got all this like cool jet ski stuff, and then there's like the really expensive chandelier hanging above, like to show off.
Touch of class, you
Yeah.
know. But I do like it. It's kind of cool. It gets a little cramped in here, though. However, you know, Justin is normally uses, because he does his Insta and the Facebook from that lit ring light, but fooling around with the webcaster and all that stuff down there to make it a little bit more formal, kind of little studio. So, and it's working. It looks good in here.
Definitely a good room code.
Yeah, and then you heard about the Yeti. Where's the Yeti? He's sitting on the Yeti. The Yeti giveaway? Like, he's been going to businesses and they've been donating stuff, and every time they do certain things on Facebook, their name gets put in the Yeti. So at select times in the year, he reaches in, pulls out a name, and they win it. Like he gave one away, last month?
February, yeah.
And then there was a Secrets Gold card in there, and about 10 different T-shirts, all these golf games and restaurants. And then this one, he's also, right now he's got the Gateway Grand, the Grand Hotel and Spa donated a weekend stay, 2 nights. Which, I mean, that's like a $500 gift, you know? And that's in there.
I broke my Yeti lid. You got a Yeti lid?
I don't. I mean, I can't use this one, man. You can win it,
How do
though.
you break a Yeti lid?
Yeah,
I don't know. Dropped it.
Yeah.
Somehow it broke.
You probably could get one online, I bet you. It's probably
Keep
not
stuff
that.
hot.
but they're not cheap.
Keep stuff hot and cold. It's like $10 for one lid.
Yeah.
Oh,
There you go.
well, that's not too bad. It's bigger than that whole cooler's about 300.
You got that jet ski money. I don't got that jet
You
ski
got
money.
no
anymore.
jet ski money, man.
I remember pulling out my wallet and got $100 in ones. Everyone's like, "What do you strip?" I'm like, "No."
Need my tips. So where are you working now?
I work at Dunes Manor Hotel on 28th Street.
Bingo. Okay.
It's fun. I mean, it's a job. You know what I mean? I'm finishing up my last semester at college, and then I'm doing a transfer to Salisbury University. Hopefully, I think I want to deal with more of psychology, just because of the whole aspect of I like interviewing people. Much like I told you guys before, literally I just thought of that on the way over here. I find it difficult to be able to sit down and read a book, but being able to sit down and talk to someone, people are like books. They have history to share. It's actually, I want to take an experiment, go over to, I know it sounds bad, I'm using experiment, but I want to go over to the retirement home and just interview some of those people.
Get some of that history, yeah. I mean, that's...
Because they're basically textbooks.
They were there.
Yeah. Ron, you were there, man.
You were just talking about the guy that was...
you met Ronald Reagan, that's
yeah, and his
wonderful.
wife, too. You know, Nancy
Was she
Reagan.
nice?
Yeah, she was pretty nice.
Did she cook you anything?
No. But I did have lunch with Dizzy Gillespie in the basement of the White House right before one of the shows. You know who Dizzy Gillespie is?
Where are you taking all these strange people? He's
To
in
the bunker
basement
in the
of
White House.
He's in
Yeah.
this
But it was
secret
so
room
funny.
of
How about
Justin
this?
Clemens.
Have you ever heard of the Manhattan Transfer group? They're a vocal group out of New York. But Dizzy Gillespie, and you probably know, he's the one that had that trumpet. He's a famous trumpet player. But he actually fell on it and he bent the horn up. So when he plays his trumpet, the horn is bent up, and that's his trademark. But his cheeks, from playing the trumpet so much when he fills with air, he looks like a chipmunk because his cheeks get really big. You should look him up. It's the funniest thing you're going to see.
It's a good thing he fell on it and it wasn't up before he fell on it.
No, it was a regular trumpet, but he fell on it and it bent it up, and then all of a sudden that was his trademark. And so he's a really famous trumpet player. If you look him up, Dizzy Gillespie, you look at his cheeks. But, you know, he was, we were sitting in the basement of the White House, in the dressing room, right, where these guys would go. And I went down there to grab some, he had fried chicken. So we all had some fried chicken in the basement, right before the show. Wow. And it was pretty funny. But the Manhattan Transfer girls were there and all that, and it was a lot of fun.
You're in the basement of the White House, eating fried chicken.
With Dizzy Gillespie. Yep.
Chelsea.
That's pretty cool stuff.
Did you know that?
No.
I didn't know
I'm
that.
telling you, there's a lot of stuff I don't know about this guy.
Did you look for any secret files on
Well,
Area
of course I did. Are you
51?
kidding me?
I would have been searching all over that place.
Well, I was telling Justin, because we would park our remote camera trucks and audio trucks outside the gate of the White House. Then you'd run the cables inside, then you'd wire the room for sound and light and all that stuff. And the very first time I did it, and I've been there a number of times for this show, I it was close, needed something out of the truck, had to sprint down to get it because it was about a block away. So I lit out the front door of the White House in a little bit of a stride, and I got stopped by the Secret Service, and they said, what are you doing? And I said, I'm just running down to the truck. And they said, don't ever run out of the front door of the White House again. You can walk out, but if we see you running, we're going to think something's up.
Did you hear about the one person that broke into the White House when Obama was in administration?
He got like over the fence.
He jumped over the fence. He had all this ammunition, like over 30-something thousand rounds of ammunition in his car. He took a knife, jumped onto... That's a guy that... Joe Rogan has a bit on it. He talks about that's a guy that wanted to die. But he literally ran up, and one of the security guards was on a phone call, so he was away from the door. Got in. He's literally thinking with every step is going to be his last. Like, this is the part where I die. This is the part... He did not want to live. You don't run into the White House to kill somebody. You're in there to kill yourself, basically, when you bring a knife, first of all, and you have all your guns in your car. Well, it was the one time a girl was guarding the door, and he just ran up and slapped her, and then knocked her out, and then just went in, and then they finally tackled him by an off-duty officer.
Oh, wow.
So he made it inside the White House?
He made it inside the White House. He was running around for, like 10, 15 minutes, and then finally he was attacked by a off-duty officer.
Jeez.
Like, that just shows you, like, people think you're going to jump over the fence and lasers are going to slice you up.
Slice you up and put it down.
Yeah. Not even close. If a guy can just jump in, freaking get into our president's place. I mean, I think Action and Odyssey Watersports has better security than
Yeah. Well, I'll give you one more little story. When I would do audio over there. When I was out and about, like I would be the audio engineer guy. And it was one of the very first times they trusted me enough to start putting body packed microphones on the performers, and most of the time, it was a guy, or it was a lady, but this particular lady, her name was Leontine Price, and she's like a renowned opera singer around the world. Anybody that's into opera knows Leontine Price. So, they asked me, she was staying in the Lincoln bedroom upstairs in the personal living quarters, and Reagan was the president. And they asked me to go up to her. She was getting dressed and put the body mic pack on her, And so I got on the elevator to go upstairs, and Reagan's daughter was on there, Patty. So we rode up to the personal living quarters of the president. And I walked in, they took me right over to the Lincoln bedroom, and there was Leontine Price, and she had just finished, like, putting her dress on. I said, oh, I'm sorry, I'm late. I got to put this body mic on you. So she undid her dress and took it off. And I was like, okay. And they put the body mic on. So I put the body mic I put in the Lincoln bedroom. So I put the tape on her, put the back, the body pack on her. Ran the mic up, and then she got dressed, and then
this isn't a story I'm guessing your wife knows about.
But even more than that being kind of cool was the fact that I not many people go in the Lincoln bedroom. That's where Lincoln stayed. I mean, it was
You want to know a weird fact about Lincoln? A week before he was assassinated, he had a dream about it.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you, that must have been.
Come up with all this? You research all this crap?
Yeah.
Wow.
I've been diving deep into everything from conspiracy theories to secret government projects. You gotta listen to my second episode of Fill in the Blank on my podcast series. It's about Bob Lazar. For 30 years, he was going out saying he was the one that proved the theory that gravity wavelengths, there's A and B. And for the past, I guess it's probably now 4 years, people have been saying that he's just a conspiracy theorist, and like people erased his records, that he never went to these certain schools, the FBI, everything like that. They erased all his stuff, and they just basically shunned him and called him an idiot, whatever. It just came out in December of 2018. Everything he said was right. Gravity waves do have two lengths, and everything they're talking about. What a gravity wave length is? It's this thing that was developed in Russia in 2004. It's called Moscovian. It's a type of element. He was admitting that the government had 40 pounds of this stuff. And what they would do is they would cram it down, and they turn it into, this is how they would use UFOs. propulsion system that flies a UFO. You know how it looks like a
Right,
portal
yeah.
at the bottom of it? He said that the government had these things because he worked at a hangar next to Area 51. He was the one that exposed Area 51, and everyone said it's not real, it's not real. So it's a military base.
So it's
not
an engine.
Yeah. Well, he was talking about that the government had these saucer type things that could fly, and he saw it with his own eyes and everything that said United States military on it. That's actually where the Roswell, if you believe in that, all that stuff was taken to this S4 base. But he worked on it and everything. And his documentary just came out because now they found out all this information that everyone said was lies and everything. It's all real. It came out in December of 2018. Some university discovered the gravity wavelengths, and the whole conspiracy behind it not being real is 100% true. Gravity wavelengths do have two.
Wow. Jeez.
So it's crazy.
We need those for our jet skis.
How freaking deep you dive into a rabbit hole and you start uncovering like all this secret stuff, like with Trump. Like a lot of people say there's a conspiracy with the Simpsons, how the Simpsons like they are able to predict the future. Like 17 years before Trump became president, they had an episode that aired where Trump was president. And then when Obama was going against Mitt Romney and everything like that, and Homer tried to vote for Obama, it said voted for Mitt Romney. It was supposed to be a ploy of the machine messing up the voting machine. And then in 2004, it was like 20-something years later, it came out. It actually happened. It was a giant scandal and everything. It's like they predicted 17 like giant phenomenon type things.
Nostradamus predicted a lot of major stuff that really did happen.
We need those guys to predict what the weather's going to be like for jet skis. And
That would be really
renters
nice. We want warm weather, dry, sunny.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't want to be going out in thunderstorms.
Oh God, help us! But yeah, that was an interesting time. We've had some pretty cool experiences. Guys have come over from when they play in the Secrets, you know, the bands come over.
Soja.
Yeah.
Soja was
I
there.
can't believe I freaking missed that.
Yeah, and they show up and they have a good time, you know.
That's
we had
probably the best
we
part
had
about
Marley's
Odyssey.
Bob Marley's son, right?
Ziggy. My dad met him and he didn't know who he was.
This was back
My
in the
dad
day.
DJ'd, I think he was like kind of like starting out like around here, like not down in Ocean City, but in like America in general. And I think and he saw him smoking a cigarette out by his van. And my dad was working for this radio station that's not around anymore. So my dad's worked all over radio station wise. And he just shared a cigarette with him. And next thing you know, the guy's like, all right, I'm going on stage. He's like, what? And the next thing you know, he's like, wait a minute, that was Bob Marley's son. Wow. But it's crazy to think how, I mean, like, we look at people and we idolize them as certain stars. Like, I look at Ronald Reagan and idolize him, but it's like, they're just people just like us. They have stories.
I can remember standing in because once again doing audio, had Ronald Reagan's podium inside. It was in the west, the ballroom of the White House, and there was a Christmas tree beside it. But the Christmas tree was designed so that somebody could stand in it. So I was the one that was standing in the Christmas tree, right by the mic feeds, because they didn't want anything to go wrong. And I could look through the branches. You couldn't see me, but I could look through the branches, and I was watching him read his address that he was giving to the room.
Wow.
And he used his finger to follow along. There weren't teleprompters in there, and he'd use his finger to read. And I was just like, I mean, literally, I was 3 feet away from him while he was reading this stuff.
The best part about this is
It was cool as hell.
fascinated, and so is Justin. It's like he's known you way longer than me, and then he's learning all this stuff about you too.
Well, you know what? I mean, I like living in the present. I like going back and thinking about that stuff. But I know that, with what's going on today is totally different than what went on back then. Right. And it's harder to do things these days. It's harder to do business. We face adversity all the time down there, and we got to figure out, what are we going to do?
There's always challenges you guys come
Challenges, yeah. So, you're always immersed in what you're doing at the moment. It's fun to go back and reminisce and think about those things. But
you don't want to live in the past. You want to keep kind of moving forward.
The more exciting stuff happens now, and you deal with it now. And that's kind of the thing. But yeah, I mean, look, granddaughters work down at Odyssey now. They do paddleboard rentals, kayak rentals. They work in the pontoon shed, and they're...
That's what they were born for. I mean,
yeah, I mean, they're 15 and 16
they were
years
lined up
old.
with that. You saw their face. You're like, I'm going to love you, but you're going to work for me one day.
do really well down there with them, and they take it seriously.
You got to when it comes to water industry, and when it comes to anything that it's anything in general that should be taken seriously when it comes to sports or something like this. Because I mean, it's a water sport. It's you're moving a machine. It's you're in charge of something. You have to make sure you're doing all the right.
Well, and everybody has a part. Melissa, she's the one that does all of the taxes, all of the books, all of the paperwork, all of the things that keeps this whole thing running. And I mean, and that's a tough job, as you can imagine. She does it, and she does it flawlessly, and she takes it very seriously. And then having the girls do the pontoon boats or the paddle boards rather, and the kayaks and things like that. And watching, they take it seriously. They know, what the protocol is. And once again, it's that whole family dynamic. And Justin takes it very seriously, and he does a really good job. And you know what? Action is hard enough for me to run. But can you imagine running Odyssey? And I always joke around with him. I went down there one day just to do something. And how many people were on the beach at Odyssey? And I know I elaborated. I said there must have been 300 people on the beach at Odyssey. And you've been down there too, but it looked like that to me. There were people everywhere.
His action's a lot smaller, so it's going to look bigger in the grand scheme.
And I just said to him, I said, what are you going to do? What are you going to do with all these people? And he was like, this is just a normal day.
Well, there was that was the private party or something.
Oh, okay.
And they rented all the skis or something. Yeah.
Amazing. Because I mean, the very first rental, I remember the very first time we did rentals, we weren't doing those. I mean, the first day we did 10 rentals, we were like, holy smoke, this is great. But, 10 rentals, I mean, we do that before 9 o'clock now, it's just.
It's crazy to see the popularity increase and just activities like that in general.
Yeah, and then we've talked a little bit about Ocean City. It seems like, there's not a whole lot of activities. Like, there's not a lot of new stuff going in. You remember they just...
You want to get drunk at the bar is probably the most popular thing.
Yeah, but I mean, that's all well and good.
Well, that's just
not
because
us.
the function of the town, really, because we have either it's musicians, stuff like that. Like, it's all like clubs, gigs. It's like the only time you can ever experience this is if you go out to eat or if you go and you see live performance. You go to the boardwalk or something. It's our main attraction here. And when it comes to jet skis, you got to make sure... One of the giant precautions is to make sure someone's not drunk trying to drive a jet ski.
Yeah, and you know what? Every resort has its, that side, and there are people that come down just for that. But there's still a lot of families. We were talking about them tearing down Planet Maze to put a hotel up.
Don't even get me started on that.
I mean, think about it. I'm not saying that, we don't need more hotels, but how many, Justin, did we talk about?
We have 12 of the same hotels on, the same street. It's like...
Just opened... we don't
have any room for you, but you can walk 5 feet to the next hotel over and get a room. It's like, oh my gosh.
So that was another laser tag thing gone, mini golf gone. So I mean, just saying, it's you need activities for folks to do, and not everybody wants to go jet skiing.
Not everybody can swim, and not everybody likes the water.
Exactly. So there's a niche that we appeal to, and. But you still need activities down here, and I think they're realizing it. But you can't keep progress from happening here, and the progress down here is now with the more people. I mean, I've forgotten how many people come to Ocean City. It's millions in the summertime, and they need stuff to do and places to stay.
I'm ready to move out of Ocean City, live in the mountains somewhere.
Do it.
Do your podcast from there. You can bring people in from on a helicopter.
I'll Facebook Live you guys.
There you go.
Living in my secret bunker. We'll do a secret bunker meeting.
Isn't this cool?
Yeah, it is cool.
I mean, think about it. This is like it's quiet. It's nice. It's
my 7th podcast, I think, was with this guy named Scott, and we were in the capture room in Ocean City. Okay. And it was like a Dracula style room with like sideways paintings and like old. And we're sitting in these like really old like chairs, like mansion type chairs. And
Wingback,
like candles lit was the only lights in there. So it was like, if he just decides to kill me, this is the spot.
This is the place to do it.
He's a cool guy though. I knew information about him before going in there. He's one of my dad's friends.
Yeah.
Is there anything you wanted to do or say to when wrapping up this podcast? Because I do have one question for you, and then that'll be it.
I And I'm just really thankful that I got what I have.
You're welcome, Ron.
I'm thankful I'm thankful for the people that I've met. I'm thankful for Justin and Melissa and the kids and everybody that's worked at Odyssey. It's been, I'm not going anywhere, but it's been a really nice experience. And I think we've done pretty well. So.
Security guard Justin, you got anything?
He's my man. He's good.
Yeah.
He's good.
Yeah, that's been awesome.
I mean, I can't imagine.
I heard he
running
does
Odyssey.
CrossFit. So.
Yeah, years ago, man.
Years ago.
Oh yeah, I don't do it anymore.
You used to have
Did you find out how ridiculous it is?
What?
CrossFit.
No, I mean it works, but
I'll be up on that keto diet too.
Yeah, the keto's
Vegan,
good.
bro?
no, definitely not vegan.
Well,
Have you heard of the hashtag vegan cat?
no.
These people that feed
God,
their
here
cat
we
nothing
go.
but a vegan diet, and
Oh
after
my
5
Lord.
years, they're like,
They
the
eat the
cat
cat.
dies. No, the cat dies.
Oh,
Jeez.
Because they're living off, they need meat.
Yeah.
let's eat. Well, it's funny because she got Pip the cat, right? Coming to Ocean City. Coming to
Possible.
Odyssey.
Yeah.
You're gonna be part just look up hashtag vegan cat on Instagram. You'll die laughing, dude. Even vegans, I had a vegan on my podcast, my buddy Matt. He was explaining, he's like, yeah, don't talk about that. I don't like that. Because that hashtag is the dumbest thing in the world. He goes, those people that do that are sick. I'm like, yeah, well, that's coming from a vegan. But I do have one question to ask.
All
you.
right.
Here's the big question, and I've already heard the story, but I want to make sure
You want to come back and
I wanna
do the
come back to
generator?
No, I'm good. That was fun. No, your finger.
The finger, the thumb. Yeah. The thumb, when I was a teenager, I was working at a company called Carpet Fair. And Carpet Fair was a place that sold carpets. And the way that they would pick up the big rolls of carpet, when they came in on the truck, is they had a forklift. And it had a pole that extended out right down in the center. So what they do is they drive the forklift up and put the pole into this cardboard tube that was in the center of the big roll of carpet. And they pick it up and they bring it in the warehouse and they put it down probably a foot or so away from the wall, and that's where they would stack them. But this one particular time, as that pole was going through the carpet, it snagged on the end of the carpet and started to undo the nap of the carpet, and it wrapped around the pole. So I told the forklift driver to stop, and I put my hand down there and I started to untwist the nap that had got right to the end, and my end of my thumb was hanging over the end of the pole, and his foot slipped off the clutch on the forklift. And it was only
No.
it was only a foot or so away from the wall, but it slipped off enough that it just hit into the concrete wall. And
I was like, you telling me Ron's your age?
Nah.
it took her clean off. I picked it up and went up to the hospital.
And they couldn't sew it back on?
They
Just
tried, but back then, now they could probably do it. But that's literally what they did
Did you
was
keep it?
no.
Put it in a jar?
No,
Hanging around your neck?
no,
Pass it down
fed
to
it to the
Justin.
cat.
Yeah.
Get
that
off
would
that
be
vegan
vegan,
Not
right? No.
no.
Not-
But
it's not
anyway,
kosher.
that was pretty crazy though. They did sew it on; it just didn't live. So because now there's all kinds of little things they do on the inside to make sure it's got blood flowing to it. and all.
Oh, so you had a dead thumb on your...
Yeah, and then they just
Did they notice it was like not... It was like...
it turned black. Yeah, it turned black. Necropsy. It turned black, so they just took it back off.
You know what they call frostbite before it's frostbite?
Oh God.
Frostnip.
Frost nip.
It's the pre-essence of frostbite. That just reminded me of that because your finger went completely black. That's what happened.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Well, thanks again for taking your guys time out of your day for being on this podcast. It was a fun experience, and hopefully you got the vibe kind of out of the blank, just being a random kind of shoot the crap type
That was
podcast.
Well, we appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thanks
thank
for
you.
thinking of us.
Filled with jet ski information,
Mm-hmm.
publicity, and then also we got security guard Justin
Yeah.
threatening me with his eyes.
With his eyes,
Yeah,
all
we covered it
right.
up with Reagan and Ron losing the thumb. Which
Yeah.
is, wraps
Talk
the
about
whole thing
everything.
around Sesame Street. Didn't dive into that as much. But
No, it's pretty interesting stuff.
like I said, thanks again for being on. Hopefully we get you guys on again soon.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Sounds good.